Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. Thanks for joining me today for a fun yoga class. If you have any props that you want to gather, go ahead and get them now. I'm going to be utilizing two blocks today. We're going to end with working on camel pose, which is a back bend, and I like to have some elevation for that, especially when you're first practicing the pose. Things that can work instead, maybe some books, and honestly, there's ways, I'll show you some ways that you can do this without blocks as well. But if you have something to just give your arms a little lift, it can create a much more pleasant experience for this final pose we'll be working on. Another thing you may want is a blanket. We're going to be doing some work on our knees. So if you want a blanket to pad your knees or elevate your hips, go ahead and grab that as well. So let's start on our backs. We're going to be playing with some back bends and some core work and really finding that balance of keeping our core activated while opening through our spine. And it's a play. We have to kind of find, you don't want too much, you don't want too little. So we're going to start, as always, by just tuning into our breath and sinking into our body. So feet in by your hips, hip distance apart, hands open. Close your eyes and just start to breathe. Noticing the tone of your breath. Allowing yourself to just start to be more aware of your internal environment. Then we're going to start to engage with our breath a little more deeply. So as we inhale, we want to start by filling into our abdomen and sending it up into our rib cage, expanding it out to the side until it gets all the way up to our chest. Then softly let it go. Really see if you can get this expansion that doesn't just come, maybe right here or right here, but actually comes out to the side and presses your back into the ground. Soft exhale. This time when you find that full inhale, belly, rib cage, hold it at the top for a second, and then engage your exhale. Exhaling from the bottom up, feeling your core draw in, your ribs knit together, and hold that at the bottom of your exhale. Feeling how that breath is the foundation of our core. Let's do one more like that. Inhale into our abdomen, into our rib cage, all the way up to the top of our chest. Engaged exhale. Hold at the bottom and release. So now we're going to add on, but that breath, you want to remember that breath where the exhale knits your ribs down and you actually feel your side waist drawing in and together like a corset coming around. That's going to be key to really stabilizing yourself in all these different positions we do. So bring your knees up 90 degrees. Arms are going to press into your knees. And part of this is just to keep you honest. What we'll tend to do is instead of making our core do the work, we'll just flex our hips. That's just a much more easy position. So press your hands into your knees. Find that big inhale where your breath expands down towards the ground. Find that exhale that knits everything together. Now we're going to keep our hands like this and we're just going to march our feet. Inhale, left foot. Exhale, draw it up. Other side. So we're just marching back and forth right now. You can stay here, especially if you feel like you're having a hard time controlling your low back and keeping it towards the ground. Otherwise, we're going to add on and take this into a dead bug where my right arm, left leg come out. And then I alternate. Inhaling out, expanding my back, into the ground. Exhale, ribs drawing in. Exhale, drawing in one more time each side. Good. Go ahead and grab your knees. Give yourself a little hug. Rock back and forth. And then just kind of massage your hips, taking your knees in circles. Then alternate it the other way. And then start to rock and roll yourself until you get all the way up into a hands and knees position. So first find just a neutral spine. And then we're going to start to go into some rounds of cat and cow. So inhaling, arch your spine, lift your head. Exhale, reverse, dropping your head, rounding your spine. Let's go back and forth in your own time. Then I'm going to invite you to take this into a little more of an organic movement. You can start to sway to one side, then the other, and just kind of explore the kind of spinal movements that might feel good to you today. Maybe it's staying in just regular cat and cow, but maybe it's exaggerating it a little bit, coming down, and maybe exaggerating as you come forward. Maybe you do a little curve to one side. Noticing any spots that might feel a little tight. Just working out some of those kinks. One more breath here. And then find yourself back to a neutral spine. As I inhale, I'm going to reach my right arm up. Lengthen it towards the ceiling. Bringing it through, threading the needle as I come down onto my shoulder. When you're in this position, really find that breath that expands into your back. See if you can really work that stretch with your inhale. Your exhale, sink into it a little more. One more breath. Then come back up. We're going to take it to the other side. So this time left arm reaches up and away. Bring it on through, sinking down onto that shoulder. My hips stay square. Big inhale into my rib cage. Stretching into my back, into my side. Exhale. Let it go. One more breath here. Then come on up. We're going to go into puppy pose. So in puppy pose, it's kind of like down dog's little baby, right? So our hips, our knees stay bent, but our hips stay high. We walk our chest out. So unlike child's pose where my butt would be back, my hips my pelvis are over my knees. Reaching those arms wide. Really getting into our upper back. Opening up our chest. One of the big keys to back bends that feel good is having an open upper back. So we're going to be working a lot on kind of finding this expansion into our upper back. One more breath here. And then walk your hands back. Tuck your toes under if they aren't already. And then push your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Take a minute here just to pedal your feet out. Wiggle your hips. And then like to twist side to side. First downward facing dog of the day. And then find a spot where you can find a moment of stillness in your dog. Pressing the ground away. Your hips are high. Your arms are actively pushing into the ground. Then walk your feet towards your hands. Bend your knees deeply, clasp each elbow. Just let yourself hang and ragdoll. Rocking your body back and forth. Maybe your head shakes no, yes. Just releasing any tension. Release your arms. Slowly roll all the way up. Big inhale finds the arms reaching overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. Go ahead and find your way to the top of your mat. Start with a big inhale up, reach. Exhale, sending my hips back, coming into standing forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift, extend, find length. Exhale, fold a little deeper. Step your right foot back into a lunge. Take a second here just to really push that back foot into the ground. Find some openness through your chest. And then drop your right foot down, or your right knee down, coming into a low lunge. So, in our low lunge here, I'm actually going to have you put both hands on your left knee. Take a second to press those hands into the knee, lengthen through your spine, push through this back hip, and start to feel just a light stretch in the front of your thigh. We're going to add on here. And so there's always an option to stay here if adding on doesn't work in your body. I'm going to start to pull this heel up towards my butt. I'm just going to go back and forth a couple of times. So I'm actively flexing my knee. This third one, I'm going to hold it in as close as I can. If you need to put your hands down for balance, go right ahead. You might start to feel a little bit of a hamstring cramp here. Hold for one more breath. Option now, right arm comes, swings around, grabs that foot, pulls it in a little closer. Now I'm in more of a quad stretch. Opposite arm can reach up. Deep breath. Release it down with control. Good. Step it back. Come on to all fours. So you want to start this one in a neutral spine. I'm going to actively press my hands into the ground so I feel the back of my shoulders broadening as well as my front side. It's almost like I'm trying to pull my mat apart. My toes tuck under. From this point of already sort of gathering in all of my energy, I'm going to lift just my knees, just a couple of inches off the ground. My spine stays long. My hips are still in line. You don't want to start to lift them up higher like you're going towards down dog. Find that breath. Expand into your ribs. And with your exhales, find that core connection. Good. Go ahead and drop down to your knees. And then step back. Plank. So that's sort of like an isometric crawl position. And it's a really good way to really start to feel your core in a very strong way. One more breath in plank. And drop to your knees or not. Lower down to the ground. Tops of feet on the floor. Elbows in front. As we come into Sphinx pose. So in Sphinx, my hands are coming out in front of me. My chest lifts. I'm thinking of broadening through my collarbones. Again, I'm thinking of that. I'm like trying to rip my mat apart. And then I'm thinking at the same time of drawing my elbows back. My chest, my upper back pulling through. Take a second here to look over to one side. And then the other. Just getting a nice little bit of neck stretch. Other side. One more time. And one more time back to center. Big inhale. Find this little back bend going more and more into your upper back. And then release down to the ground. And walk your arms out just outside your mat. Just a few inches outside your mat. elbows up in the air, and I'm on my fingertips. So I like to call these spider fingers. So I'm going to start by just lifting my shoulder blades, finding that openness through my chest. So I push up into a wide arm cobra. You can stay here, or you can think about screwing your shoulders back and down, deepening your cobra. And still, there's a little bit of tone in my belly here because I don't want to be dumping into my low back. I want this to be going into my upper back. One more breath here. Release it down. Tuck your toes under. Press up and back. Downward facing dog. Pedal your feet out. Then inhale, step your right foot forward. Left knee down to the ground. Lifting up. Going back into this low lunge on the other side. Both hands to your knee. Inhale, lengthen. Press through this back hip. Light stretch in the front of your thigh. From this place of engagement, I'm going to start to kick towards my butt, up and down. This third one, I'm going to hold in, hold. I'm going to see if I can bring my heel just a little bit closer to my butt. My left arm is going to open up, like I'm serving a tray, reaching back, grabbing this foot, deepening that stretch of my quads. Maybe your right arm lifts. One more breath here. With your exhale, release that down with control. Hands to the ground, step forward, standing forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift, extend. Exhale, full Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Press through, your heels come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Readjust yourself on your mat if you need to. We're moving on. Inhale as we reach up. Exhale, coming forward into standing forward bend. Stepping that right foot back. Dropping down to our knee. Coming back into this low lunge. So this time, with our low lunge, we really want to think about keeping our hips square to the front. So we reach up and then twist towards the bent leg. So I'm twisting towards my left leg here. I'm pulling this hip back because I don't want it turning with me. I want it to stay stable, and I want this twist to go into my upper back. Big inhale. Find that expansion in your ribs. Exhale. Find that connection to your core. Stay here or add on by lifting your back leg. Keep pressing through that back leg. Keep reaching your arms apart. Open through your chest. One more breath. Slowly bring down that back knee if you had it up. Arms back overhead. Hands to the ground. Step back to all fours. We're going back to our little crawl hold. So toes are tucked under. Hands are pushing the ground away. You lift up just a little bit off the ground. Knees are just a few inches off the ground. Stay here or really challenge yourself by lifting one hand, 1 foot off the ground. Switch to the other side. Even if you just try and fall over, it's fun. It's fun to challenge yourself and challenge your balance. Release it down. Come back to plank. And then send your hips back. Knees, chest, chin. Roll in to upward facing dog. Hands push the ground away. Chest opens. Reaching back. With an exhale, push back, downward facing dog. Big breath here. Let it go. That crawl hold is pretty intense. Inhale your right foot up into one-legged dog. And exhale, shift yourself forward, knee towards nose. Hold for a second or drop your knee down. Pull it back up. Send that leg back. Inhale, knee towards right elbow. Hold or let it go down. Pull it back up. One more time. Inhale, across the body, right knee, left elbow. Drop it down. Push the ground away to come up. Release that foot down. We're going to the other side. Inhale that left foot up. Exhale, coming forward, hold. Inhale down. Pull it up. So that up, from the down to up, it's a coordination of pressing with your upper body and pulling with your core. Sending it back. Left knee, left elbow. And a drop. Pulling it up. Now across the body, last time. Left knee, right elbow. Drop it down. Pull it up. Back to one-legged dog. And release. Go ahead and give yourself a quick child's pose. Just one cleansing breath. Big inhale in through your nose. Soft exhale through your mouth. Then push back, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward. Left knee drops to the ground. We lift back up into our low lunge. So we're going to move on to the twisting low lunge. So remember, our hips stay forward. Reaching out, twisting open towards the right leg. My left hip is still drawing back. My inhales, I'm reaching my arms apart, expanding through my rib cage. My exhales, I'm connecting to my core, really focusing on drawing this left side back. If you did so on the other side, have those back toes tucked under, lift up into a twisted high lunge. One more breath here. Slow control it down. Arms overhead. Step forward, standing forward bend. Inhale, halfway look, extend. Exhale, let it all go. Inhale, press the ground away, rise up to standing. Exhale, hands to heart center. Come to the top of your mat. We're going to move into chair pose. So for this chair pose, we're going to have our feet together. So big toes together, and then fan your toes out wide. Hands are going to come in to prayer position. And they're going to actively press. So we want, as you actively press, you want to think about your collarbones, your chest getting wide. So my elbows are out, my chest is wide. I'm sitting down into my chair pose. Inhale, send your butt back a little more. I'm still pressing those hands together. More breath. Exhale, hands to the ground. Step back, plank position. Lower to your ground. And then your choice of either cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale your right foot up. Step it through and turn your back foot down to about a 45-degree angle. We're coming up into warrior one. So with warrior one, you often will need to shorten your stance a little bit. So feel free to do any adjustments you need. Just make sure your hips are pointed forward. Your front knee is bent. Inhale, reach up, and then turn your palms to face away from you. As you press into that back leg, pull your elbows wide. Like there's a pane of glass right in front of you that you can't come forward of. So my chest is open, my elbows are wide. From here, I'm going to lean back just a little bit and then press my arms up. Now I'm in a back bending warrior one. I'm finding tone here to protect my low back. I'm pulling from the front so that I can find this openness in my chest and back. One more breath. And slowly bring your hands down to the inside of your right foot. Walk that foot out a little. Come down onto your back knee. Stay high on your hands for this one. Your right arm is going to reach up in front of you, twist open towards your back leg. And we're going to kind of do another variation of what we did in our low lunge, but now it's going to be in a twisted position. So my back foot, my left foot, is going to start to kick in a couple of times. And if this doesn't feel good in your body, then just stay with the long leg behind you. So last time it's going to pull and stay. I'm activating all through the backside of my body to keep this in place. Maybe, if it feels good, I'll reach back and grab this foot. And then really think about opening my chest, deepening this back bend. Can you still breathe here? If you can't, that's a sign for you to maybe do one of the other options. Release it down, press back, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts up and back, steps through, right foot turns down to about 45 degrees, coming up warrior one. Again, adjust your stance as needed. Hips are squared to the front. Inhale, reach, palms face away from me as I come down into that wide arm position. I'm pressing through that back leg. I'm pulling my chest open. And I'm going to keep this openness as I lean back a little bit and then push my arms straight, coming into this back bend. Can you still breathe? Is your breath going into your ribs, or do you find it stuck in your chest? If you find it just stuck in your chest, then let yourself come up a little. One more breath, and then come forward, hands to the inside of your foot, walk that knee out a little bit, drop down onto your back knee. So my right arm presses into the ground, my left arm comes up and around, twisting away. Make sure you stay pressing out of your supporting arm. You want to keep that active so that you don't sink into your shoulders. So it's actively pressing the ground away. This arm is actively reaching away. My back foot tries to kick my own butt. This time it holds it in as close as I can get. Maybe my hand can reach that foot and I can deepen this twist. One more breath here. Hands to the ground. Step forward, standing forward bend. Allow yourself just a second to soften your knees and let your hands hang. Kind of like little paintbrushes drifting across the floor. And maybe they go back and forth too. And then inhale, halfway lift. Press through your feet all the way up to standing. Hands to heart center. Step your feet together. We're going to go back into chair pose, and we're going to play with that, pressing our hands together to really create some tension through our upper body and open our chest. So elbows wide, chest open. Sitting back into chair pose. My legs are squeezing together. Shifting my hips back. I'm going to slowly start to peel my right foot up off the ground. I'm going to lift it up and send that foot back behind me. I'm still pressing into my hands, opening through my chest, thinking cobra in my upper back. Maybe I straighten this back leg. One more breath. Slowly bring it back. High lunge into warrior two. Warrior two with my left leg in front here. Take a second to adjust your stance in Warrior Two. And we're going to play with inviting a little more core into our standing series today. And a lot of that comes with just awareness of where our ribs and pelvis are located in response to everything else in our body. So we're going to start by just playing with shifting our sideways and activating these muscles. Arms are long, and just play with moving your waist to one side and then the other. So this is just my upper body. My lower body isn't doing anything. My hips aren't shifting. I'm just pulling through my obliques. This is going to be an important action to try to find as we move on a little more. So the other one, now we're going to keep our upper body totally stable and just move our hips. So I'm going to tilt my pelvis back and then pull it forward. And I'm thinking about controlling this, not by pushing through my glutes, but by zippering up through the front. So I'm just kind of rocking my pelvis back and forth. Then find a spot of neutrality with your pelvis. You don't want it too tucked under, and you don't want it too arched. Get your arms long. Find that shift through your waist to come into side angle. Take a second here to press that elbow into your knee, reach this arm away. And we're going to add in a little more core work by playing with lifting this bottom arm. So that's going to require us to think about using this side waist to pull up. So if you think about that move we did, now it's this side waist. I'm pulling up, I'm pressing through that back foot. This arm is totally loose. When I can find that stability here, then I can move this in any way I want. Maybe my arms will reach out to the side. If I want to challenge my core even more, I'll reach my arms long. Can you still breathe? One more breath. And reach it up. Warrior Two. Straighten this front leg. We're going to play with that same sort of idea as we go into triangle pose. So, arms reach long. You find that shift, right? That shift through your side waist as you come into your triangle pose. Your hand can come to a block, you can come to your ankle. Take a second here to press your hand into your ankle, into your block. Find that length through your spine, and then opening up through your chest. Now you can stay here. This is a fabulous place to be. If you want to add in a little more core work, then again, think about pulling through this side waist, really having this whole side of you kind of pull up and stabilize. This arm is nice and loose, just swinging along. Again, from there, you can play with your arm position. The arms reach out wide, arms sweep in front. One breath here, and then press into your feet all the way up. Toes point towards the front. Take a second just to roll your shoulders out. If you were doing a lot of that core work, you're really going to be feeling it. There's probably some heat built up in your body. Maybe you just need to wiggle it out. Do what you need to do. We're going to inhale, reach our arms overhead. Exhale, chest open as we interlace our fingers. If interlacing your fingers makes this happen, then don't do it. And just think arms out wide, thumbs behind me. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, send those hips back. Standing wide-legged forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Pull those arms back behind you. Exhale, come a little deeper. One more breath here. Then pull those arms back as you lift all the way up to standing. Coming back to that Warrior Two. Coming back to that high lunge. And then stepping all the way back up to stand. So I'm actually going to move over to this direction for the other side just so you can see me a little better. But we're going to go through that same thing on the other side. So Starting in chair pose, my feet are together. I'm sitting back into my chair pose. Hands are together, chest is open. I start to peel my left foot off the ground as I push even harder through my right foot. Leg lifts. Starts to push back behind me. Like I'm pressing into a wall that's not there. My hands are still pushing into each other. Maybe I can press a little straighter. One more breath. Step back. High lunge. Open up. Warrior two. Right leg in front. Adjust your stance. Find your warrior. And we won't go through the waist thing again, but if you want to play really quick with just shifting your waist again, sometimes it can feel different side to side. Have that neutral pelvis. We're going to shift towards that right knee. Right elbow goes to the knee. Left arm reaches. Take a second here to press into that knee. Pull into the side waist. Feet also are pulling in towards each other. So from the ground, from my feet to my legs to my pelvis to my core, everything is supporting this action when I release my hands. Maybe this arm sweeps overhead, arms go long. Maybe I bend my knee a little deeper. Inhale all the way back up. Straighten that front leg. Let's change my stance just slightly. So we're going back into triangle pose. Arms are long. We start with that shift through our side waist. Hip goes back, coming down to your ankle, to a block. And then we press into our hand, opening up our chest. Before I even start to think about lifting this hand up, I'm going to squeeze my legs together to find the strength of the muscles of my legs pulling into my pelvis, which in turn helps me pull into this side waist, lengthen through my spine. Now this is so much easier. Maybe my arms reach wide. Maybe they reach both to the side. One more breath. Reaching it all the way up. Release. Both feet turn towards the front and then slightly turn out. Bending down into goddess pose. So in this, I'm thinking my knees are going over my second toe. They're coming out wide. Arms are going to reach out in front. I'm going to pull my right arm back as my left arm reaches forward. I'm just going to go back and forth here. Now I really am going to do this slow, and I don't want my hips, my low back to be twisting. I'm just looking for this motion through my rib cage. Having this open upper back, this mobile rib cage helps so much getting into back bends. This time when your right arm is forward and your left arm is back, take a second. Find that big inhale that expands into your back. Find that exhale that knits everything together. And reaching even a little more. Switch sides. Inhale, big inhale that expands. Exhale, reaching a little further. Good, press on up. Stepping back to warrior two. High lunge, all the way to standing. Go ahead and just release that. Take a deep breath. We're going to work on a back bend that is also a standing balance pose. So we're going to go towards baby dancer. And then we're going to have some stops along the way. So you're going to get to choose where you want to take this. So the first time we practice this, we're going to stand on our left foot, press the ground away, get taller as we lift our right foot up in the air. I'm just going to push my hips back. My knees are both bent. So I come forward. I'm thinking about lifting this back foot like I'm trying to kick the ceiling. My arms, my thumbs are going to be up. They're going to reach wide. So here, I'm finding openness through my chest, activations through my back body, support through my core. One more breath, and bring it in. So we're going to add on to that, starting with pressing the ground away with my left foot, finding that feeling of getting taller, that activation through my hip. Right knee bends. Just like we've been practicing with pulling that leg in, how close can you get that heel to your butt? Right arm turns out like I'm giving a tray of sweets, handing them out to my foot. Maybe I grab the inside of my foot. You can stay here and just practice on balancing in this quad stretch. Otherwise, left arm reaches, and I start to kick my foot into my hand. And I'm going to start with my knee a little bent, because if we take this in stages, then we're more likely to have success with the full expression of the posture. So I find stability here, just a little bit of back bend. I want to take it further. I kick this foot into my hand. I straighten my leg. My chest is open. My core is supporting my low back. As you go as far as you want to. One more breath. And then release it down. Shake it off. We got one more side to go. So any point along the way, you can choose to stop and just work on that. Balance is always a practice. You're always going to be falling in and out of it, and it's okay. So, doing the same thing on the other side. Starting with pressing that right foot into the ground. Getting taller, left leg lifts. Kicks behind. Like I'm trying to kick something on my ceiling. My arms, my thumbs go up. My arms reach wide, opening through my chest. Just a variation here of baby dancer. One more breath. Bring it back up. So you can even practice that one again, or you can move on, pressing the ground away, kicking this heel up towards my butt. My left arm serves a tray out to the side, reaches to the inside of this foot. Right arm reaches. Re-engage, lengthen that spine as I kick my foot into my hand and start to send my hips back. I'm going to start with my knee a little bent so that I can send my hips back. As I establish that balance here, then I can start to deepen. Woo! Balance is always a practice, side to side. It can be different. And release it down. Shake it off. I have one side that's always a little hard to balance on than the other, and I find that most people do too. So just let that go. Come back to the top of your mat, feet wide. Send your hips down and back to a low squat. Then bring your hands in front. Come down to your knees. I'm going to have you tuck your toes under. We're going to do a bit of a toe stretch. Some people find this very uncomfortable. So if you are one of those people that doesn't have a lot of mobility in your toes, you can even try to start to invite some extension into your toes by just being up high and just seeing if you can get all your toes underneath. And then you have a little more control of how much pressure you put into there versus sitting back and really pushing down. Just take a second here. Make sure that even your little pinky toe is in on it. Then we're going to come forward, flip our toes, get the tops of our feet in Virasana. Hands go to the tops of knees. Just let the tops of our feet get a little stretch too. Now, if you have those two blocks this is when you're going to want to have them. As we go in towards Ustrasana or camel. Camel is an awesome back bend, but it's another one that we want to take. We want to take it slow, and we want to do it with consideration of what our body's needs are. So I'm going to take you through several variations of how to go into the step by step, because the more mindful you are about going into these poses, the more you can adapt it to what your body needs. So we're actually going to start, if you have your blocks handy, just leave them there. Start with a long spine, and I'm thinking about lengthening my tail down towards my legs. Arms are going to go out in front. Spine stays nice and long. I just lean back. And you'll notice as soon as you lean back, you're going to feel the fronts of your legs turn on. You're going to feel your core turn on. And pull that back up. Just go back and forth here a few times. Feeling the control that our front body has as we lean back. You can really get a lot of front body strengthening just by doing this. This time, lean back. See if you can find a place where you can hold and breathe. And lift it back up. So, as we go into Ustrasana and start to find a back bend, remember the feeling, the engagement through the front side of your body to pull you back up and to control too much motion going into your spine. If Ustrasana doesn't work in your body, you can even just play with that movement again. So we're going to start lifting up. My tailbone is lengthening, a little press forward. My arms are coming out to the side. My chest is opening. As my hands reach around, they're going to come to my low back. Pressing down, lifting my chest, leaning back just a little. This might be enough. If you have your blocks by your side, you can reach your fingertips down to the blocks. If your fingertips find your blocks, press out of your arms. Think about lifting your chest even higher. Can you still breathe? Are you still finding that activation in your front body? It has to be reactive. It can't be too tight or you won't be able to bend. But without any of it on, you'll find more achiness in your low back. And more breath. And then to rise, don't think about just pulling yourself forward, but think about a string that pulls you straight up. Release it down. So we're going to practice that one more time. You can do the one we just did with your hands on your low back or your hands on blocks. Another variation, if you want to go a little deeper, is have your toes turned under, go to your heels. Otherwise, you can have your feet flat to the ground and go all the way back. The way we get there for all of them is the same. We start with length. I'm finding this drawing down of my tailbone, my hips gently pushing forward. My chest opens. I keep lengthening as I come back. Maybe I stop here. Maybe I come all the way down to my heels. So I inhale. I still want to find that big breath through my chest. I'm pushing away. So I exhale. I'm feeling the support of my front body. Two more breaths here. And as I come up, I'm thinking of pulling straight up to come up. Sometimes if you think about that as like a shift forward, you'll get some achiness in your low back that just doesn't serve you in the long term. So again, go ahead and release that down, shake it off. Back bends like camel can be so energizing. So I think like doing them at the noon hour is a good time to do them. It should leave you with a lot of energy for the rest of the day. Go ahead and come on down. We're going to find ourselves in a forward bend. We're going to go into Janu Shirshasana. So my left leg is going to come out in front. My right leg is going to bend in foot to thigh. This might be the one where you want a little bit of lift under your pelvis. Wherever you're at, Take a second, lengthen, press that thigh into the ground. So this foot isn't just floppy. I'm actually finding some active quality to this entire thigh. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, start to come forward. But as I start to come forward, again, I want to keep stability in my low back. Turn this. I don't want to just dump into my low back. I want to keep stability there. And I want to think about cobra in my upper back. So the more I can open my chest and start to think of just a little baby back bend in my upper back, the more I can really reap the benefits of this pose. I'm still pressing my thigh into the ground. Hands can be wide. You can come down further if you have the mobility. But even if you do have the mobility in this one, I find it really beneficial to come up a little bit and really focus on the opening in your upper back and chest. One more breath. And release. We're going to switch to the other side. Right leg in front, left leg pulls in. Again, my right leg is going to press into the ground. I'm going to feel those muscles hugging to the bone. It's almost like I'm sucking my thigh bone into my pelvis. Lengthening through my spine as I start to come forward. Again, I want to think stability in my low back. And then baby back bend in my upper back. Cobra. Open chest. So each inhale, can I find a little more length in my spine? So each exhale, can I sink into that upper back just a little more? And walk your hands back up. Bring your legs in, give them a little shake. Bring it on down. We're going to come onto our backs. Just give yourself a little hug here. I'm going to pull my right knee in as my left leg goes long. From here, I'm going to take my right knee and bring it across my body. Reaching away with the opposite arm. And I invite you to close your eyes here. Sink into this twist. If you want a little more stretch in this top leg, you can straighten that foot out and think about pressing the heel into the wall behind you. One more breath here. Bring it on in. Give a little tug. And then lay it down long. Repeating on the other side, bringing that left knee in. Reaching that right leg long as my left knee comes across. Twisting away. Close your eyes and allow this to be a pose of relaxation, of coming back into your body. Option to straighten that top leg if you did so on the other side. Bring it back in. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little hug. And bring your knees wide, feet up. Grab your ankles, tops of your feet, whichever feels right. We're going to pull our knees wide, come into happy baby. So in happy baby, we still want to keep our pelvis on the ground. If you notice that you're kind of raising your butt up in the air, then just adjust maybe where you're holding on. so that you can still keep that nice long spine. Big inhale, find that expansion into your back body. As you exhale, see if you can relax your knees down a little more. You can rock your baby back and forth. Maybe you want to straighten one leg and then the other. Maybe you just want to find a moment of stillness. And go ahead and release your knees. If you have a block, go ahead and grab it. We're going to do one final restorative pose before we go into our final resting pose of Shavasana. And I'm going to use my block. If you don't have a block, you can also do this with maybe a pillow under your low back or under your pelvis. So I'm going to put this on the kind of the medium setting here. Place it on right here at the bottom of my spine, my sacrum, right here at the top of my pelvis. So you can hang out here and support a bridge, or you can bring your legs up and go into legs up the wall. This one feels especially good after back bending. It's such a sweet counter pose to any of everything that expands your back out. You can feel your leg bones dropping down into your pelvis. Just take a couple of breaths here. See your option to stay here or start to come on down. Remove the block from under your pelvis. Slowly start to make your feet straight out in front of you. Remove some things that are in your way. Feet relax out, palms up, arms wide. And allow yourself to sink into Shavasana. Allow your breath to soften, your mind to quiet. Allow the thoughts that find their way into your head to just be soft. Like a breeze, they float in, and you can watch them just drift away. Even the ambient sounds of your house. Allow yourself to notice them as an objective observer. As you feel your body supported by the weight of the earth. Allow yourself to spend as much time as you like in Shavasana. I really like spending about 3 to 5 minutes. That really allows your body to find this full, deep relaxation. And hopefully when you're done, you'll feel just a gentle alertness, this balance of energy and soft, like a soft quality to your breath and to your body. Thank you for coming to join me today. I hope you guys are enjoying these classes, and I hope to see you back on the mat with me again soon. Thank you. Namaste.